Where the mind goes, the body will follow. Regardless of what it is that you have set out to achieve, whether it's a dream, a goal, or just a simple task at hand, you have to mentally win at something before you can even physically attempt to achieve it. Now, this statement, I'm going to call it a statement because I believe that it is objective. I believe that it is a factual statement that cannot be changed, that is true to life in itself. This statement is universal and applicable to any hard task, any hard achievement, anything that is worth doing, that requires a considerable amount of mental and physical strength, energy, and fortitude. Pretty much all of the things that I come on here and discuss and break down and share my thoughts on are things that I am utilizing and trying to understand myself. And that is the case with this. I thought about deeply about what drives me, what drives my decisions, what makes me achieve things. How am I as a person able to achieve these goals, and why is it that, you know, certain things with the brain, the mind, and the body all combined together allows for a flawless execution of achieving goals. Every single goal, every single achievement, every dream, everything that is achieved within your life, it starts in your head. It starts in your mind. Everything starts as a thought, and thoughts are only expressed as a potential. You know, you cannot see it, you haven't achieved it yet, but it is within your mind to believe the potential of a certain thought, of a certain idea, a certain achievement, to allow your mind to believe to the extent that you can achieve it. And that is why I believe that everything starts in the mind. Everything is just extrapolated from one thought, and the amount of attention you give that thought is the amount of potential that you hold that achievement to. You know, the more you think about something, the more it will manifest in your mind. The greater the details will become. You know, the more strategies you will build around it. So the way that I've been thinking about this and breaking this down is two deep context meanings behind it. And the first one is specifically with weight training, because that is what this channel is about. You know, I tend to relate a lot of this stuff to weightlifting, to bodybuilding, because it's just such a great thing to expand your thoughts around, because it relates a lot to mental and physical things. You know, they co-align very often than you'd normally think, and it's just the case with this, that it 100% co-aligns. And the way that I've been thinking about it with this, where the mind goes, the body will follow, is even when you're training, when you're doing a set, when you're doing something that's hard, your mind will give up way before your body does. You know, when you're doing a hard set and your mind is conjuring up all those thoughts to get you in every which way to stop this set because your body is in pain, it's in discomfort, the mind has to send signals to the body first in order for you to stop, for you to give up, for you to give in. It always comes from the mind first, you know. So everything with training, when you give up, it always comes up here first. It's not the body. The body can go as long as the mind tells it to. That links very closely to achieving goals. It's very similar. Like I said, the gym and weightlifting co-aligns with life in itself very well, and a lot of these things relate very closely, and that is how this relates to achieving your goals. You know, it's not just convincing your mind to push yourself in the gym to get one more rep. You know, it's also convincing your mind to continue to get up in the morning, to continue to work when you feel like you want to give up. You know, regardless of what these things are, it all has the same principle to allow the mind to go to a certain place that the body will then follow. And I think that with weight training and bodybuilding, this saying does relate in a very cliche sense. You know, there's not much to expand it on, because where the mind goes, the body will follow. You know, it's very self-explanatory. The amount that you push your mind to a certain place, your body will continue to go. You know, one more rep and you convince your mind to do it, and your body will follow, or it will at least try. And it is a very cliche sense with training, but a lot of these things that I break down have way more deeper meaning to than just training and bodybuilding. And I think that the gym in a general sense is way more than just lifting weights. You know, it has a lot more to do with the mind than the average outlooker can see. And I would say even more than half of weightlifting and bodybuilding is a mental game. You know, and this saying runs so much deeper than just, you know, like I'm talking about it now, like the gym and achieving goals, because it wraps around the whole sense of how your mind can shape your actions, shape what you can become, your potential. And the same for the opposite, you know, because where the mind goes, the body will follow is deemed to be a very positive thing at first. At first glance, when you read it, it gives a very positive notion to, you know, where the mind goes, the body will follow. You know, you believe in yourself and you can achieve what you want, but it works backwards. Where the mind goes, the body will follow, you know. You think about negative thoughts, your body will follow. That can be a very dangerous and self-sabotaging cycle. You see it all the time. People think about negative thoughts. You know, this is how people develop such self-warfare in their mind, is that they suscept themselves to negative thoughts and negative ideas, and that leads their body into a decomposing state where if the mind breaks down, then of course the body's going to break down. And you see these people get into such bad states with themselves, and it's all because it starts up here. Where the mind goes, the body will follow, regardless of which direction, positive or negative. Where that mind goes, the body will follow after it. In a sense, you can guide your own reality. You can see the path. You know, you just put your mind to it, to the things that you want to achieve, and the more that you think about and manifest it, then a clear path will be shown your way, with things that have to be achieved, things that have to be sacrificed, all of these things that will lead you towards the goal that you have set out to do, all because you have started with the mind first and let the body follow after. Because without the mind, then, like I said, the body has already failed. Another way that I also started thinking about this, which is more of a emotional and mental side of it, is the extent to which you can control your emotions. You know, because where the mind goes, the body will follow, gives you this sense of control over your emotions, and allows you to have control over what is real and what isn't, and gives you this sense of undeviating steadiness towards control of your emotions and the power of your mind to believe what you want it to believe. Because after all, emotions are just a signal in the brain that is telling you how to feel. You know, it's a certain reaction that happens that justifies the feeling for something that has happened, and the brain has control over that. And it is that through where the mind goes, the body will follow. You can gain sheer and utter control over it and decide what you want to decide is real. You know, steer your mind in the right direction that will push you back on the straight and narrow path towards your goal, towards your dream. And that is with the full understanding that disregarding your emotions and getting them caught up with pushing them aside and things like that can be very dangerous if completely disregarded all the time. If it's not broken down and assessed, when I feel a certain way and I know I've got stuff to do and I push it to a side, I have to break it down. I understand, look, this is how I'm feeling right now, but I've got stuff to do. I'm not completely ignoring it and fleeing from my emotions. There's a difference between fleeing and overcoming emotions, and where the mind goes, the body will follow, allows you to overcome your emotions. You're not fleeing them and pushing them aside and being a coward to your emotions. You're facing them at the forefront, assessing what it is, why you're feeling this way, but you've got stuff to do, so you put your mind in a position where the body can follow to overcome it. That is the main thing that, I just wanted to break that down, because it is very important to look at things that way, because you see a lot of young men disregarding their emotions rather than overcoming them. And it is a very fine line, I will say that, but that is why I like this, where the mind goes, the body will follow, because it is not a cowardly approach to gaining control over your emotions. You're not disregarding anything. You're coming face to face with your emotions, quite frankly. And almost in a sense, if it were a possibility, if it were something that could be real, you are having a conversation with your emotions. You're talking to them. You're saying, look, I know you want me to be sad right now. I know you want to enter my mind and allow me to be sad, but I haven't got time for that. I think that the way that this works both ways, it is just an objective thing that cannot be discussed. There is no argument. There is no discussion about it. Like I said, the habits that you create for yourself, whether it's you keep eating junk food or whatever, that's going to make your mind deteriorate and put it in a vulnerable state where you're not clear. You don't have absolute clarity with your surroundings, with your personal self. And the same with the mind. If you're constantly thinking about negative things and exposing yourself to negative thoughts and ideas, then that's going to take an impact on your body. You're not going to be fulfilled with adrenaline and excitement and passion. You're going to be low, sad, vulnerable, and depressed. It's best that you think in both of those situations flipped around the best thing possible. Achieve, strive for the best thing possible. Where the mind goes, the body will follow. Think about, right, okay, I can do this. Put your mind in a position where believe 100% that you can do this thing, and you will just follow and achieve it. There will be a clear outline path for you to follow. And then the same with the body. Where the body goes, the mind follows. If you put some work in the gym, you push yourself physically really hard, and whatever it is, like I said, these things relate to the gym, bodybuilding and weight training so much. Because if you're in the gym and you're dedicated and working towards a physique and you have a goal in the gym that you want to achieve, then that is going to benefit your mind so much. You have a goal that you've set out to achieve, and even though it is physical, the mental reward that you get back from that, from seeing progress, from dedication, believing in yourself, it all contributes to the mind just as much as the body. I think that this saying is so universal across everything, but it's just that here I talk about the weight training and the mental and goal achieving side of things. But I think that this has related very well to my surroundings, to my daily life. Like I said, if you've got a clear path outlined, then there is no reason for you to go off the straight and narrow. You have something clearly outlined which gives you a sense of focus and dedication. You have something to pursue, and we all know that the purpose of pursuit is one that creates an undeviatingly steady mind and just allows for exponential personal growth. So that is really how I feel about this. Where the mind goes, the body will follow, just as much as where the body goes, the mind will follow. But everything, I believe, starts up here. You have to start up here first with anything. no matter what it is. Like I said, a dream, a goal, or even a daily task. You have to believe that you can achieve something before your body can even have the opportunity to achieve it. I hope that this was of use, whether someone's listening to it that is looking for advice, or whether it's someone that just wants a different outlook on something, because it's so important to, regardless of someone's age and experience, to hear other people's outlook on things, what they've got to say about certain things, especially if it's something that can be broken down and utilized to your own life, that you can make specific to you. And that is what I intend my videos for, my content, the things that I talk about. I intend them to be utilized, as another point of view from someone else's life that has gone through life differently and done completely different things, has a completely different outlook, completely different body, mind, and ideas. And that is how you gain knowledge of these things and really get a better understanding on yourself and life. But that is it. That is Shed Talk episode number 4, and I hope that it was of use to at least someone, whether it was just one thing. That's all I intend this stuff for. But that is it for this one. I will see you in the next one.